Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is Sunday, December 12th, early in the morning for my co-host Chris Jones and myself. We're doing it. We're doing that soccer thing right now. Good morning, everybody. Yellow Card Podcast, episode 63, presented to you by Couch Guy Sports and sponsored by Shocked Energy. If you ever feel tired, like we're feeling right now, out of focus, like we're feeling right now, or just or just overall just need a boost of energy, head over to shockedenergy.com and use the code CGSN for 10% off your order. CGSN. Currently they're doing some wonderful holiday deals, so take advantage of those. Make sure that you go and take advantage of those. But man, we got a lot to talk about today. We got a lot going on. Champions League related. One team who has caused a lot of laughter around the world, and a league with some intriguing things happening with their teams. So, first and foremost, let's update our current Champions League prediction records, because this was a tough week, man. This was a tough one to predict anything. So, how did you go this week, and how did I go this week?
So we both had pretty awful weeks. I will say that in advance.
I think I had like a 500 week.
So if my notes serve me correctly, which they should, Diego went.
I think I went like 8-8 or something like that.
Yep, you went 8-8.
Yep.
I went 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8-8.
Oh, hey, there you go.
So
it's not that bad. I mean, we both went 500 weeks. So.
Yeah, but we've been much better than.
But it was also
before.
It was also a tough match day 6 though for this groups. Like,
yeah,
there was some wonky things around, and like on top of that, Atalanta and Villarreal game postponed to another day because of snowflakes on the ground. That's beautiful.
Who would have thought snowflakes would be the reason why a soccer game doesn't get played? But one thing that we need to talk about, when it comes to the Champions League, is that you need to say you're sorry for doubting Atletico Madrid moving on.
Oh, I'm not sorry at all. They got lucky. Did you watch the game? Did you watch the physical game?
They got lucky. Oh,
did you watch a physical game?
This guy, man.
They walked away with murder.
This guy. Liverpool 6-0. AC Milan, see you later. Porto, bye. Come on, man. You got to put some credit on Atletico Madrid.
That Porto collapse, though, that was something. That was unexpected. And I don't know if you saw it, but the way that the Porto fans kind of reacted on their support was magnificent.
So there was that one. There was, for me, Villarreal beat Atalanta, which just the way that game started, you just knew that Atalanta was so much still in a culture shock after not being able to play the previous day.
Yep.
So moving forward on that. What was another one? There was I'm trying to get the game started in my head. Oh, I mean, there's one, but we're gonna save that for later on when we start talking about it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Just looking at the groups and looking at everything that happened, it's going to be an interesting round of 16. That's for sure.
Yep.
I think both you and I need to apologize to RB Salzburg. Both you and I did not believe that they would beat Sevilla. Yep. Sevilla just looks like an absolute shell of themselves at the very moment.
Yeah.
Which is not good. Need to give credit to Zenit because they came to play.
Oh yeah,
They took Chelsea to the limit.
to the absolute limit. I don't know if you saw. I don't know if you saw Tuchel on the sidelines, but the guy was ready to put on a kit and start playing himself because he was just so annoyed.
Yep. But let's talk about what the round of 16 could potentially look like.
Yeah, let's do it.
What do you think? So obviously both of us posted what we thought on Twitter.
Yeah.
What the round of 16 would look like.
Yeah.
So why don't you go first and tell everybody what you think?
Yeah. So, I mean, in typical fashion, it tends to be that the Champions League round of 16 is first of a certain group goes after the second of, two groups over from where they are. So if you're in Group A, goes against the second of Group D, or Group C, actually, I should say. But honestly, I just don't see that happen this year, and especially with the teams that are on there. So I have some wonky predictions, but again, the predictions will be made tomorrow. The decisions will be made tomorrow, I should say. So for my round of 16, I got Manchester City going head to head against Atletico. I got Real Madrid going against Benfica. Lille going against PSG. Liverpool versus Villarreal.
Can't do Lille and PSG. Can't play from the same league. I just realized that.
Oh.
Can't play against each other in the same league up until I believe the semifinals.
So then I'll change it. Lille versus Villarreal. Liverpool versus PSG.
Ooh.
Bayern versus Chelsea. Juventus and Sporting. United and Salzburg. Ajax and Inter. That's my round of 16.
Okay. So there's the two variables in this is you can't face anybody from your same league. So City, United, and Liverpool can't play Chelsea until later on.
Yeah.
So that takes that off. So Chelsea can play either Ajax, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, or Lille because they can't also face someone from their same group, so they can't play Juventus again. So there's a 50-50 spot here that Chelsea could get stuck against an absolute wagon.
That's why I predicted Bayern.
They get Bayern, that's going to be tough for them, man. It's just looking at these potential matchups. Oh, the amount of fun matchups that could come out of this, I think, would be unreal. But
I mean, even if Chelsea gets somebody like Ajax, that is a very tough matchup for them. Incredibly tough.
I agree. But I think we have a bunch of fun matchups that I think we could see. The first one with Manchester City, I think they're getting Inter Milan. Just based off of how I can see everything structuring, I think Inter would be a formidable opponent, but I think it's just they're trying to get City as far ahead as they can because it's the one thing that Pep hasn't won. So, and by them, it's the luck of the draw at this point. Like there's no you can't rig it or anything like that. The way they do it, they do it so differently that sometimes you really don't know what's going on. But at the same time, they always try to keep it fresh and open and honest. Then we go to Liverpool. I have them actually taking on Salzburg.
It's an interesting matchup.
Yeah, it would definitely be a tough one for Liverpool. But I think at the end of the day, they would get that done. Ajax, I have them facing Villarreal. Villarreal and Ajax would be a very interesting matchup. Ajax is just an absolute wagon right now. I want to see them do big things in this Champions League. And I can see them playing Villarreal. One of the big ones, I have Real Madrid taking on PSG. Oof. That's a big one that I have in the round of 16.
That's a classical right there.
Mm-hmm. I got Bayern Munich taking on Atletico Madrid. I think Atletico's time in the Champions League runs out if they get stuck with Bayern.
Yep.
It would just be a crappy draw for them anyways. United, I got Man United taking on Sporting CP. The storyline writes itself. I said it earlier when talking about the group stages. 2 games of Cristiano Ronaldo and Bruno Fernandes versus the team that they grew up in. That's who they played for.
Yeah.
Like that just writes itself right there. I got Lille and Chelsea. I think Chelsea gets the luck of the draw and they end up playing a team like Lille. And then I have, just because this always happens with Juventus when they win the group, they get a tough team from a different league. It's going to be Juventus and Benfica.
I don't hate it.
And those are my 8 matchups.
I don't hate it. I do like that United and Sporting prediction. I do think that would be something so poetic to happen this year's Champions League. I mean, it's been happening all along. I do think that the Ajax Villarreal matchup is a little lopsided because Villarreal doesn't have what it takes to compete against Ajax at this moment. They just don't. Not that a lot of teams do. Not that a lot of these teams do, but still.
It's all hypothetical right now because just because a team's playing so bad right now, these matchups don't take place until February. So it's not. Right. It's not like it's like next week and they have to boom, boom, boom. Like Ajax could take a couple bumps here. Villarreal could take a couple bumps here. We have a whole transfer window in between. Like there's so many different variables that can go into anything that has to do with these round of 16 matchups. So you definitely want to stay tuned, not only tomorrow when the draws come out, but you want to stay tuned for the transfer window in a couple weeks.
Yeah, one team that certainly looks to be very different come January is probably going to be Borussia Dortmund, which aren't on the round of 16, but they're headed to the Europa League.
Speaking of the Europa League, I mean, the Europa League is going to be fun.
It's going to be fun. Yeah, I mean, we got a 21-year-old reunion happening.
I think so. Before we talk about them, I think just the teams that are getting added to the Europa League, I just think are going to make it even better. So obviously, Zenit is an interesting one because they can play anybody tough. Yeah, RB Leipzig, which I think is a good one. Porto, who will play anybody tough, anywhere, anytime.
Porto's got to be tough.
Borussia Dortmund, who we talked about. Erling Haaland could just score 20 goals in the Europa League and easily help them win, but you never know how that will play out. Sevilla, if they get some pieces, if they figure out what's wrong, they can right the ship there as well because they won the Europa League a couple years back.
Yeah.
Atalanta, which 2 Colombian strikers, Muriel and Zapata, if they get going, they can beat anybody. Sheriff, who was one of the fun teams that we had in the Champions League in the group stage. And then obviously, the Titans, one of the Titans of the world when it comes to soccer, Barcelona. That right there just makes the Europa League that much better to watch.
Yep.
And those draws are happening soon too. Like I believe those are also on Monday.
I believe they're either Monday or Tuesday. Either one of those 2 days. It's early enough to happen now.
I'll tell you right now.
Holy crap. Wow. I really need some shocked energy rather quickly.
Seriously.
But if you are just tuning in and listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, whatever you listen to us on, and you're feeling a little stressed going into the round of 16 for the Champions League or just this Europa League draw, we will highly recommend you something that, ladies, if you're listening, or gentlemen, if you're listening, it's a perfect Christmas stocking gift for your significant other. Head over to Exogun and use the code CGS10 for 10% off of your order. That's right. Exogun is one of our sponsors as well. Make sure that you try their product, the massage therapy gun. Very, very, very useful, especially when you're just, either sitting on your sofa, laying on your sofa, just looking to relax. It's at the power of your hands, man. It's a phenomenal technology. Highly recommended, and your significant other will thank you for it.
Yeah. So the knockout round playoffs for the Europa League, that draw is also on Monday as well.
It's also on
so
Monday,
I mean, dude, some of these matchups could be very, very interesting. So the teams that
do we want to do like a quick prediction?
Yeah, so I'll tell you right now, the teams that were runners up and are advancing. So they didn't win the group, but they were runners up in their group, so they can move on, but they're not moving on yet. They're moving on to the knockout playoffs, which will be those teams against the third place teams from the Champions League, and then it sets at the round of 16. So real quick, the winners of the groups that are moving on, you have Lyon, Monaco, Spartak Moscow, Frankfurt, Galatasaray, Red Star Belgrade, Leverkusen, and West Ham United. So the runners up that could take on any of the 8 teams that we mentioned before from the Champions League. It's Rangers,
Real
Sociedad, Napoli, Olympiacos, Lazio, Braga, Real Betis, and Dino Zagreb.
So the teams that are transitioning from the Champions League to the Europa League already automatically moving on.
No, so the teams transition from the Champions League to the Europa League are playing the runners up from the group. So instead of doing a round of 16, they do a quote unquote knockout playoff round.
Yep.
Where they play 2 weeks. They play 1-1, home and home. I believe it's the 17th and the 24th of February. And then the 25th, they have their draw for the round of 16. Okay. So the teams that won the group are already in the round of 16. They're waiting to see who they can potentially play as they do the knockoff playoff rounds between the runners-up of the group and the third-place teams from the Champions League. So obviously, you can't play the same. It's just like Champions League. You can't play the same team from the same domestic league.
Yep.
So real quick, I'm gonna go bold here. I think we get Rangers and Barcelona.
Okay.
You writing this down?
No, I'm listening because I'm writing down the teams that are the runner-ups, so I know I'm gonna forget them.
All right, so I'm gonna go Barcelona, Rangers. I'm gonna say we'll go Atalanta, Real Sociedad. We'll go Dortmund, Napoli. Sevilla, Olympiacos. Porto, Lazio. Leipzig, Braga. Zenit, Real Betis, and then Sheriff and Dynamo Zagreb.
Jesus. That's quite the matchups.
Huh? I can't wait for these. These are going to be good. Especially the big storyline of this is going to be who's going to take on the quote unquote Titan Barcelona. Especially because another thing is they have 2 guys from the Premier League that are ready to move to Barcelona come the transfer window.
Yep.
Imagine how do they feel about not playing in Champions League? That's another aspect of it that we have to look into this here. So I don't know. I'm curious to see what your thoughts are on these potential matchups.
Yeah, I'm doing them right now. Give me 1 second here.
Excuse me while I drink a sip of water. Also, while we wait for Diego, why don't we also, if you have a Twitch, you can catch the Yellow Card Podcast on Twitch at the Couch Guy Sports Twitch channel. Over 300 followers currently and looking to add on. So if you don't follow us already on Twitch, make sure you're doing that. Make sure you're following us on YouTube at Couch Guy Sports, and make sure that you are following the podcast on Twitter at podcastcard.
That's right.
All right, Mr. Galvez, you ready now?
I am. All right. So I got Rangers taking on Atalanta.
Like that.
Real Sociedad taking on Sheriff.
Okay.
Napoli on Zenit.
Yep.
Olympiacos on Barcelona.
Ooh, that would be a good one.
Very physical. And the last time that these two play, actually, there was a fight that broke out and a lot of suspensions the last time these two faced each other. Lazio and Porto.
Ooh, I'd like that one.
Braga and Dortmund.
Yep.
Real Betis and RB Leipzig.
Mm-hmm.
Dynamo Zagreb versus Sevilla.
I like those. I think Porto against either of the Spanish teams, against either of the Italian teams, the Napoli and Lazio would be a good matchup. Jesus.
Woo! Wow. See, you thought I was so hard that it just needed to come into fruition.
It's just excuse me.
All right,
But
so that's my Europa League knockout rounds. Wow. All right.
Speaking of Barcelona, let's dive in a little bit. So at the beginning, I mean, can we honestly say that we're surprised since at the beginning of this, when Ronald Koeman was the manager of this team, you and I both said on this podcast that they would not move on to the round of 16.
You and I both said it, and I remember that at the time our previous third host was a little surprised by that because he thought for sure that they would find a way to get it together, and it was starting to look that way for a little bit too. It was starting to look that way for them, but it only lasted a week. Let's be honest. I'm not surprised at all. Their arrogance and everything that has happened to them over the past 2.5 years now has been long coming. The way that they dealt with the Messi contract, their lack of truthfulness towards their players in regards to their financial situation, the people who they were assigning for their head coaching job was also just lackluster. And speaking of that, I mean, currently Xavi, great club legend and everything, but there's two different aspects to that. There's one being a club legend and having the ultimate thought of you and having that respect of you. I mean, it's the same with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer United. And the other thing is how you carry yourself as a man. And that's where Solskjaer and Xavi are completely different. Solskjaer came into United knowing what the goal was at hand and carrying a very humble but honest image of himself. Meanwhile, Xavi has come in with this ultimate managerial kind of outlook on him, being like, "No, we got the team that's here to do it. We just need to be far more disciplined." And the arrogance just oozed out to the maximum. And I think they got a taste of their own medicine here with the Champions League. No surprises here. I do in fact see them struggling for another year or so, unless they move some big pieces. And I mean, Barcelona is rumored to be moving away from quite a few pieces, including Marc-Andre Ter Stegen,
which would be a big one.
Yeah, Frankie de Jong, I believe he's rumored to go as well. Serginho Dest will also be moving on. So Barcelona kind of needs to clear their books right now. There's a lot of work that needs to be done for that team, and it's a Barcelona to give some sort of stability to that club instead of just sacking manager after manager, and get to work. I mean, it's unfortunate that's happening to them, but it does happen. It does happen, especially when you're carrying yourself the way that you're carrying yourself. Doesn't also help that their owner has been such a arrogant prick just to begin with. For me personally, I have zero remorse of seeing Barcelona go into the Europa League. I could care less with them. That's just me.
It's so weird because, in like the majority of our lives, seeing Barcelona as this big club, always competing at the highest levels, seeing them kind of falter, it's interesting to me. Like, I'm just very curious to see what the future is for this team. Obviously, moving on from a guy like Marc-Andre Ter Stegen, who in his prime, 29 years old, from goaltender. I mean,
yep.
What could you really replace him with? Like, he's such a world-class talent that wherever he goes, he would be. I think if I'm trying to think where he would succeed. I think he'd be phenomenal in Serie A. I think if a team like Juventus finally got sick and tired of Szczęsny, he would definitely be the first guy on their list.
I could see him at Inter. I could see him at Inter Milan. Handanovic is not that much of a reliable source.
Mm-hmm. That was the next one I was going to say. But on top of that, there's another team in that league that just lost their goaltender to PSG that could use him.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
AC Milan could use him as well. I think Ter Stegen would do well in Serie A. But let's be honest, Diego. I think you and I both know there's one team in the Bundesliga that would pay to have him.
That's Borussia Dortmund.
It's Borussia Dortmund.
Yep.
1,000% Borussia Dortmund would love to have a goalie like him.
Yep.
But that's where I don't see him going anywhere else. Like, I don't think he goes to the EPL. I don't think there's any EPL team unless Newcastle United's going to throw a bunch of money at him. But I don't think he's going to want to play for someone who's currently at the bottom facing relegation.
But speaking of Newcastle, though, they are rumored to be making some huge waves come January, including the send-off of a gigantic offer to Jesse Lingard from Manchester United.
Mm-hmm.
So if they are in the rebuild process, I mean, I would not be surprised if Ter Stegen is one of those guys that's part of it.
I mean, so right now, if you look at Barcelona, right, you're sitting at the middle part of the table. You're currently 8th in the table.
Aren't they like 16 points behind?
Yep. Real Madrid's just a wagon in that league this year.
Yeah.
Speaking of El Derby, the Madrid Derby between Real Madrid and Atletico is today, and I can't wait. 3 p.m.
Oh, it's gotta be disgusting for Atletico. Poor guys.
But no, I just think that they really need to like sit down, look at themselves, and say, okay, what can we do to get this club back at high levels? Because the Barcelona faithful, the fans right now, if you're looking at them, everybody was on top of the world this time, said 3 years ago. Now, I don't know. January transfer window is going to be interesting, though, for sure.
Very, to say the least.
Diego and I both have some big takes that we're waiting on dropping until the transfer window. Could be some articles coming from the both of us on it. But I just think this January transfer window could potentially shake the landscape of football around the world.
Yep, I agree. I absolutely agree. I mean, the most interesting one is going to be where does Erling Haaland go? He's rumored to go to City. I doubt that he'll go to City.
Okay.
He's rumored to go to Juventus, Bayern, Chelsea, and Manchester United. Frankly, the only way I see him going to Chelsea is if Chelsea decides to unload Timo Werner onto United. That's where they replace Timo Werner with Erling Haaland. But other than that, I don't see it happening. I actually see it more of a happening to United to get somebody like Erling Haaland, especially as Haaland is very high on Ralph Rangnick. He wants to work for him as well. So who knows? I mean, we could see gigantic moves happening that are gonna be quite scary for the rest of the leagues. So
Oh, for sure does. But even if Erling Haaland doesn't leave in January, there's no doubt in my mind that he's gone in the summer.
I mean, Erling Haaland is subject to go this January. I mean, Jude Bellingham is also looking to leave. With Jude Bellingham leaving, Erling is just right out the door as well.
You know what would be a good spot for good old Jude Bellingham? Right in Anfield, baby. Right in Anfield. He would fit perfectly in that midfield.
Yeah.
Oh,
he would be a phenomenal replacement for Trent. He would be a perfect replacement for Oxlade Chamberlain.
Oh, sure. You kidding me? See, we can't do this. We can't do this because we'll keep talking about this for hours on end.
I think I just saw you have a concussion.
Shout out to Andrew Fasciano for that one.
Oh man, that is the OG sneeze of the century. That just if you go back to that video, right, and you click in slow-mo, you just see the hairs from the very back of his head rotate quickly to the front, and it just goes, wow. No, but either way, shout out, Andrew.
Yeah.
Either way, let's move on because speaking of Serie A and some teams that need some fine tuning as well. That's another league that's going to be exciting if the January transfer window is done correctly. Looking at some teams like Atalanta, AC Milan, Lazio, Napoli, some of these guys, right? I'm just thinking ahead. Some of these teams and the ages that they're dealing with, they really need to be active come this January transfer window. And I actually see one of my takes is the Wilfred Zaha could be headed to Serie A. It could be joining a team like Napoli.
So Juventus needs a big shakeup because they're just not getting it done right now. This isn't the same Juventus team that we saw dominate the entire Serie A for a decade. This team is just, as of late, they've been well, but beginning of the year, they're too inconsistent. They just need to figure it out and get it together.
Yeah.
Like you can't be drawn with Venezia of all teams.
No, not at all. I mean,
also they need to play Moise Kean more.
You don't say.
I love Morata, but they need to play Moise Kean more.
I just think Morata's at the end of his career, to be honest with you. For me personally, I just think that he is towards the end of his career.
He's only 20. He's only 29. It's not like he's super old, but
every year his performance just drops even more. It's scary. It's absolutely scary.
No, listen, when a team like Fiorentina is ahead of you right now, you need to reevaluate.
I mean, holy shit! Wow. Fiorentina also has some pieces that have been growing on that team for quite a while, but I think the biggest surprise for the Champions League this year was the fact that the current leaders of the Serie A were eliminated so quickly. AC Milan, barely even had a chance to move on, and they're the current lead. They're 12-3-2 at 39 points, and they look incredibly powerful in Serie A. But in Champions League, it was just flatlined. Absolutely flatlined.
That was Inter Milan for the past 3-4 years.
I mean,
they'd be so high up on the table, and then when it comes to the Champions League, they'd falter. So AC Milan, I'm not surprised by. Atalanta, I didn't really trust them in that group. The same thing with AC Milan. I didn't trust them in the group.
Yep.
Inter and Juventus both got put into groups where they could succeed, and that's exactly what they did.
I think AC Milan would actually benefit of Having somebody like Anthony Martial join their team.
We can go on and on about what these teams need, and we're gonna do that eventually.
We're gonna do that, yeah.
Just not right now.
But I mean, even if you look at the Serie A, it's still very interesting because, yeah, Juventus is only trailing to Fiorentina by 2 points. They also did just get a new manager not midpoint, but in the midst of the early beginnings of the season, right? In Massimiliano Allegri. But Roma is also another team that has had to do a lot of transition. And with Mourinho at the helm, they're also in the picture that could be in the top 5 as well. They're in a streak right now. They're 8-1-7. It seems to be improving a lot. And so is Lazio, 7-4-5, and they're not trending that far behind from Roma right now. So the Serie A could be very interesting towards the end of it. I think if you look at the current top 5, I think the top 5 is subject to change very quickly, with my prediction being that it's Milan, Napoli, Atalanta, Juventus, and Roma that are going to be top 5.
So what team do you see falling out?
I see Inter falling out, and I
Ooh.
see Fiorentina falling out.
Well, I knew Fiorentina, but Inter falling out. That's interesting.
I see Inter falling out because of the exhaustion from the Champions League. Their focus seems to be headed that way, and I think when you're replaying basically the same exact structure, if you're not looking to be a big participant in January transfer window, which they don't seem to be rumored with anything, it's gonna come down to a point where player fitness is gonna kick in, and I think eventually you're gonna see a slump from Inter that's gonna be too heavy to recuperate from. So I see them falling out.
I don't know. It's definitely going to be curious to see where Inzaghi has his team as well. So we'll have to just wait and see, I guess.
That's another coach that, you never thought that he'd be this good of a coach, but holy crap, the guy has been able to really turn Inter around.
Yeah.
But anyways, with that said, any final thoughts before we wrap up episode 63 here?
Mo Salah is going to lead the Premier League with close to 30 goals this year. That's a bold take and a final thought.
I like it. I think I'm going to say that Chelsea is going to have a major slump coming their way, especially after seeing them struggle against Leeds last night, where they had to get a last-minute penalty basically gifted to them in order to win that game. So I see Chelsea struggling for a little bit. But all right.
I don't hate that.
That's it for episode 63. Just a friendly reminder, you can find us on Twitter at Podcast Card. You can find us on Spotify, Google, Anchor. Just Google the Yellow Card Podcast. We're right there. Until next week, signing off is Chris Jones, Diego Galvez. Have a great weekend, everybody.